Hello HCG family, my name is Heather. This is my first vlog. I was just wanting to check in. Today is my VLCD day, I believe 39, and I started out at 178 pounds before loading. I got down up to 179, I think 0.4, and today I am at 152.6. So that is about 27 pounds lost. So I am excited about that. Really hoping that I can push through and get to 30 pounds lost, but at the same time, I'm happy with where I'm at. I'm at an average of what I think most people probably lose. So I guess beyond stats, I don't feel like y'all probably know me. So I'm just going to share a little bit about how I found the HCG diet and how my life has led up to this point, I guess. When I got out of high school, I was struggled with addiction and was actually just an addict. But I, towards the end of that period in my life, became born again, and that was before my 21st birthday, so I was very, very gung-ho at that point to not, drink or anything. So I think I immediately turned to food, not realizing it even until just recently that's what actually had happened. But my addiction turned from one thing to the other, and it's I guess that's easy because food's legal. It's not anything that isn't accessible, and all those things. So I quickly put on weight, and in my high school years I never really was worried about my weight, and I was slightly chubby, but it was nothing. My parents, I never felt like I wasn't good enough or anything like that. That never was a struggle. I remember one time in my senior year, my aunt saying something to me, and then that kind of put a weight complex in my head, and I did do my first diet in high school in my senior year and lost a few pounds, and I think that was part of, when I was an addict, part of the reason why it was one of the things that kind of molded into it, because I did lose a lot of weight, but once I got freed from that, and I did gain a lot of weight, and then started the yo-yo dieting, which has led up into this point. I lost a lot of weight, whether it was with South Beach or Weight Watchers. I had a trainer. I would go to the gym 3 times a week, and I was eating very healthy. Even when I stabilized for a long time, but I was always, oh, well, I want to lose 5 more pounds here that I had gained, so I would get on another little diet. So always yo-yoed and tried to stabilize, not realizing that I was overeating and eating when I was not hungry, and that was the reason for my weight gain. I got married. Towards the end of my marriage, right before my divorce, started drinking because I was depressed, and then turned to alcohol. So alcohol was kind of like my new fix. And when I went through my divorce, I drank a lot. I drank pretty much every night. Wasn't, I would say, an alcoholic, but a borderline becoming an alcoholic. And went to recovery classes at my church, trying to, the only thing that could make me stop drinking was the weight gain. And, it got to a point where that didn't even stop it. So, went through some financial struggles, of course, with the divorce, and, ate whatever I could eat. I couldn't really worry about eating healthy, couldn't worry about going to a gym because I couldn't afford it anymore, and packed on probably 10 to 15 pounds. Then, this last year, I have met the greatest guy in the world, and he was actually my boss. So my position I had to change, of course, because we couldn't date with a clear conscience and all of that. So I went from a very, very active job where I was running around all day, inside, outside type of field, and I could eat anything I pretty much wanted. If I wanted a Chick-fil-A sandwich 5 times a week, I could have one, because I was burning so many calories at work, and it was such a long shift at work that, I didn't really gain much weight, apart from the drinking. So, switched jobs to a sedentary desk job, which I love, and I have never been happier with my boss that I have now. What I do, it changes every day. I love it, but I was sedentary and sitting at a desk and had never done that in my professional career. So quickly, packed on another 15 pounds and, tried desperately in this whole last year, ever since January, I did the lemonade cleanse diet. I did all these crazy things, lost 10 here, lost 5 there, gained it back. I was, eating way more than I should have been eating, and I knew it was starting to get out of control as far as my eating, because I was eating, to a point of just overfull stuffed every time I ate, and I knew that I had to reduce my calorie intake. It got to a point where I was eating clean during the week. During the weekend, I would binge all weekend on fried stuff, just really unhealthy food, and I have gotten to the point where, I used to be a 135 kind of girl, and I was looking at the scale, and I'm like, I'm in the 170s. This is crazy, and I could see it, and I felt it, and I had fat that I had never seen before. I don't think I'd ever gotten that heavy in my life. So it was big, and my friend had mentioned to me, well, my mother did the HCG diet. You should, look into that, because I think you would be really good at it. And she never, her mother had lost 70 pounds on the HCG protocol, but like very few gained it all back, and that's because she wasn't dealing with the emotional issues that she had tied to food. Now, when I first heard about it, I never thought about, this impacting my emotional eating. I never even knew I had emotional eating. I never knew that I was addicted to food. So I just was like, well, and I toyed around with it, and I started Googling and researching, and honestly, I found the HCG community that's on YouTube, and was like listening to your vlogs, and I think this actually might work with me, and they're talking about this emotional relationship that they have tied to food, and I might have stumbled on something. So did my research, ordered my HCG, and felt like, what, I'm gonna give this 100% like I have all the other diets I've done, and what, I have nothing to lose at this point. I have nothing to lose, and I didn't realize what I was, getting myself into, I guess, because I remember the first couple days, I had ordered Robin Woodall's book, and right before I had started the protocol, but, reading it, I'm like, it just honed in and made so much sense, why do we eat when we're not hungry, and then, of course, you have times in your diet where you're like, my first week, I, had lost 8 to 10 pounds, and that weekend we had to go to a fair, and, all the carny food that's at the fairs. So, everybody was all in the cars like, well, I'm going to get a funnel cake, and I'm going to get a corn dog. And in my mind, I was like, I deserve a corn dog. I deserve it, because I've lost 8 to 10 pounds this week, and I've been basically in starvation mode, not starvation mode, but I'm eating, next to nothing compared to everybody else, and I deserve it. And I was justifying even in the very beginning, and it was so crazy because I didn't realize how much I put food on a pedestal, and how much it made me feel good, and I don't know why, because it's not even worth it, but I had some corn dog that day, and of course the scale went up, and I was so upset about it, and, of course then you're back into starvation mode where you're, in normal diets where you would, okay, well now I'm going to torture myself because I did this to myself, and I had to really dig deep and figure out that, you know, my weight is doesn't define me, and it's not who I am. I am funny, and I have friends and loved ones, and I care about people, and you know, that's what matters, not that damn number on the scale. And I think that going through this whole process and realizing those things, and really, you know, there was times too where when you're on this protocol and, you know, you're at a family function or dinner and everybody's having wine, and, you know, I wanted a drink, and it wasn't because I was sad or depressed, and I sat there and I kind of had to, you have to talk yourself through it and figure out, where is this coming from? Because I'm not hungry, so it has to be something internal. And going through those steps and realizing, and then pointing it out and saying, now, what would the repercussions be? And it's like, okay, well, you know, you could do a correction day for 2 days, but is it worth it? And all to do what? To give you a false sense of happiness or satisfaction with yourself that you're not going to have when it wears off. You know, you're not going to have that. And either way, that doesn't make you happy. That doesn't define me. So it has been a journey. And, you know, I plan on doing, I know I'm at 152 right now. Hopefully I'm going to extend this round just a little bit, because I had lowered my dosage. I have quite a few more doses. I also have to get some more food for P3 to prepare. So that will be happening this weekend, and whenever my dose is in, that's when they end. I'm going to just extend it so that they don't go to waste. And, you know, hopefully I will end up at 150. I'm not really worried about it, where I end up, because I know I'm planning on doing maybe at least 2 more rounds. And the reason I say that is because, you know, even though I only have to lose so much weight, I know there's fat on my body that even when I was in the best shape I've ever been in, which is like 134, right in that area, I was working out 3 days a week. I have a lot of muscle on my body, but I also know that even then I had a lot of abnormal fat that I just couldn't get rid of. So I plan to break past 135, go into new territory, and somewhere stabilize between, I want to end up at 126, 120. And that's kind of where I feel like, with my body frame, being a medium-sized body frame and my height, would be in a very healthy range. More than the number, though, I'm interested, especially my last round, I am toying with the idea of getting rid of the scale completely. The main reason I've clung to the scale, I guess, this round is because I want to see, you know, how zucchini would react with my body, what things that I can have, if I can have broccoli, you know, how will miracle noodles affect things, and how does Tom affect things. And I honestly don't even care. Sometimes I get on the scale and I'm like, whatever, you know, it is what it is. I'm on Tom, and, you know, I'm going to not, you know, lose weight today, and then some days, you know, I do an egg day and I lose 3 or 4 pounds. So, and sometimes you don't crap for a day or two, and, you know, then you finally do and you lose weight. So there's a lot of other factors that I can't micromanage and say, well, you know, I just have to know that I'm doing everything right. I trust my body. I trust what this protocol does. I trust the mental state that I'm in, and, you know, I'm going to trust myself going to P3. I'm not going to micromanage my calories when I get into P3. I'm going to try and just eat to hunger, and, you know, try, and I kind of do a South Beachy style where I'm eating healthy foods, healthy fats, and laying off the sugar and the starch completely. And that, I feel like I can trust myself in that area. So I'm not going to micromanage it. I'm just going to, you know, do that. But in my 3rd round, my main objective is to do it based on fat percentage and not even worry about a number on a scale. I know I said that my goal is around 120, 126. And you know what? If I go into P3 and that happens to be where I'm at, then that will be fine. I'm not gonna, I want to break past that 20% fat, maybe get into 19 or 18, or get to where I just have 20 pounds of fat on my body, and worry more about, the amount of fat that I have on my body versus a number on a scale, because that really doesn't matter. And I can't even tell you if it might be at 130, because I've put on a lot of muscle over the years and not gotten rid of a lot of fat. So who knows, it might be 130 where I stabilize, and that's fine. It really matters, you know, how I feel in my skin and how healthy I am, and that's really what it's all about. So I don't know what else to say. I mean, I guess I'm nervous about going into P3 apart because there's so much, you know, restriction on P2 to where, you know, with P3, I feel like, gosh, I can, you know, kind of do anything apart from, of course, the starch and the sugar. But, you know, I don't want to give myself too much room, you know, but I'm going to just trust myself, trust eating to hunger. And what I plan on doing is going into P4 and then New Year's Eve loading up around that time, and I'm going to do a clean/dirty load. So I'm just going to eat as many healthy fats, and even if it's a fried food fat, I don't care. I'm going to load up on the fats because I felt like I did not load up properly the first time, looking back on it now. But plan on starting my next round. VLCD day 1 would be January 1st. So part of me wants to go ahead and just delve back in 3 weeks and get back on the train. But I'm going to stick to my plan and give myself Christmas with my family, have a glass of wine, and not worry about it. So I think, you know, it doesn't matter the weight again so quickly. I need to not be so ready to just lose it all, and just take this time that I'm learning in these rounds to take time doing it and to really enjoy the experience and learn as much as I can, because this is the last time I ever plan on doing anything as far as a diet. I'm done after this. I'm glad that at 29, going on to 29, that this age that I'm learning all these things that, you know, God has shown me this, and, you know, and I am just blessed to know that there's a community out there that we all can lean together and support, and that is just amazing, because through this whole period I have clung to your vlogs and clung to everything that you say, and look forward to going through this journey and ending this journey, because and continuing it through the rest of my life as far as healthy eating and trusting my body. So I'm looking forward to the future, but don't want to fast forward too fast, because I want to just experience this and get as much out of it. That way I don't ever have to hit repeat. So I hope y'all are having a great day. I look forward to getting to work and listening to your vlogs every day. So I will holler at you later. Hopefully vlog tomorrow. So have a good afternoon. Bye.